Hello everybody. I wanted to do something. I wanted to see a little experiment using virtual 3D modeling software and using a 3D printer. I wanted to see how fast we could design and produce something usable in the house. All right, so it's a little experiment, and I'm going to be using Medium. I think it's Oculus Medium, I believe, on using the Oculus Rift, and I'm using a Power Spec Wanhoo 3D printer to output this. We're going to design a soap dish because soap dish should be easy, right? You know, not a big deal. So I'm going to model the soap dish in 3D in virtual reality, and then we're going to export that model out and print it out on a 3D printer, and we're going to see how long that takes to see how quickly we can do iterations and overall product design from a virtual standpoint to getting a real thing. All right, so let's see how long this takes. First thing I should mention is that I'm speeding this up so that it doesn't take you as long to watch it as it took me to create it. That being said, I'm going to do my best to keep up with the video. Modeling in virtual reality is a blast. I mean, you just basically wave your arms, pull a trigger, and stuff appears, as you can see. Going into this thing, I knew I wanted the soap dish to have two pieces. One piece where the soap would actually sit, and then another piece below that that would kind of catch all the gunk and goop and water and kind of the nasty soap stuff that happens after you use a soap. Two pieces will make it easy to remove and clean out the bottom soap dish without having to worry about getting down into nooks and crannies and stuff like that. So I decided to go with a coral-inspired design because it already has those holes and things that the water can easily flow through, and it's structurally sound with all little connecting pieces. So before I get started, I want to set up some tool preferences. I'm locking down a plane so that when I create the soap dish, it is flat on a flat single plane. All right, now that I've got my plane locked down, I know that when I pull the trigger, as long as I don't let go, that everything I'm going to be laying out is going to be on the same level, on one flat plane, one flat surface. And that looks pretty good. So maybe one level of this coral isn't going to be enough. Maybe we can make it a little fancier by adding a second level stacked on top of the first level, sort of adding some complexity to the coral. So that's what I'm doing here. And after doing that, it was a kind of a mess. It didn't look that great. I like the single plane coral much better. It looked more like a mass of like spaghetti noodles, which wasn't very pretty or aesthetic. So we're trying this again, laying out a new piece of coral down there, and pretty good. Now I can use certain tools. This tool is a move tool and allows me to grab the surface material there and move it around. This is a little bit of a spiral tool. I thought maybe I'd give it a little spin, and I liked a little bit of a spin to the whole, a little bit of a twist to the whole design, but too much, as you saw, made pieces tear away from each other, and it lost all its structural integrity. So went with a little bit of a twist. Now for the second part, I've created a new layer, and I'm building the piece of the dish that's going to hold the coral piece. So I've put down a sort of a mass oval, and then I've kind of routed out some pieces from the center of it, and it just, I'm not digging it. It's kind of rough, maybe a little more twist using the move tool. Yeah, a little twist, move, nudge, nudge. I kind of like the spiral thing going on. I think that's kind of cool. But clearly the dish that I originally did, no good. So going through setting up some other things, some other tools. Maybe we just use a stand but flip it upside down, and maybe we can use that to hold our soap dish And if it has a chamber to catch the water and the gunk, maybe that'll work. It'll all flow down to that center portion. That's better. That's better. That's not as rough and kind of nasty as the original dish that I had. So let me put a hole in there for the liquid and the soap gunk to flow down to. It's looking pretty good. I mean, we have the legs on the stand, or what was a stand, are now flipped upside down, and they're now supports holding up the initial portion of the soap dish. That's looking pretty cool. Nicely designed bevels on the side. Yeah, this is working. I'm going to go in here and kind of nudge things around with the move tool to make sure that I don't have any of the top pieces of the dish intersecting with the bottom piece of the dish, because while I can do that in VR, that's not going to work so well when this thing gets to be output into plastic. So I gotta nudge things around, twist them a little bit. Of course, I'm thinking that hole in the center of that bottom dish is going to be a problem from catching liquid and soap standpoint. I mean, we're not going to want to have soap go all over the sink or wherever it is the dish has been placed. So we'll probably need something, some sort of a base underneath that to catch the soap and liquid. So after I've got the thing modeled, I'm going to lay down some base colors, and the colors are more representative. It means color 1, color 2. I'm not so much stuck on the colors. Since I don't have a big variety of PLA plastic to 3D print onto, the color is simply sort of like staying in place, because I'm going to have to paint this thing if I wanted it to be these colors. But go with a nice little, I guess, teal and sort of aqua color. Let's make the base a different color. Yes, this is me going in and adding that bottom so that the liquid in the soap doesn't fall through that hole. That's one heck of a stand. I don't need it that tall. There you go. That's better. So now I've got the little indentation on the other side of that bottom portion of the dish. So all in all, this took about 20 minutes to model, going through the couple of iterations that we tried. And now we're ready to export out the model and 3D print it. All right, so we took the two parts of the model that we created, the dish itself and the holder or the stand for the dish that collects all the soap and the gunk and stuff like that. We took those two 3D models and ran them through Cura, which prepares 3D models for 3D printing. And then we print it. Each part of the model, remember, two parts, each part of the model took about 6 hours to print on the 3D printer. So that, I guess the good news is that wasn't a lot of my time, but it took about 12 hours total for the dish that holds the soap and the stand that supports the dish to 3D print. So that took a while. The good news is they turned out pretty well. This is them. This is the stand itself, and this is the part that actually holds the soap, and it goes into, and the dish rests inside the stand like this, and as you can see, there's that little concave area that's going to collect all the water and the soap and gunk. All right. So we've got a couple of concerns Danielle brought up, and that is that the stand that is supposed to collect the gunk and the water doesn't extend out far enough around the dish, and this is true. And so that's a concern. I was hoping that the curvature of the dish would cause the water to run down into the reservoir area and collect there. We haven't tested. I don't know. It might work, might not work. One thing's for sure, the dish printed right side up. So the top of it is pretty smooth. It's pretty good. The back of it, I don't know if you can see or not, but because it is curved and 3D objects are an additive this is an additive process. So it builds layer by layer from the top up to from the bottom to the top. Basically, there had to be a lot of supports and a lot of extra pieces that broke off really easily because they're supposed to, but they left little rough patches on the bottom. So I'm going to have to sand this, especially if I'm counting on the curvature of the dish to attract the water to go down. I'm afraid if it hits any of these sort of thorn areas, that's going to really mess up my last hope that the water's going to run down, which may or may not work anyway. Anyway, but that's pretty much it. The soap goes on top. Now, the soap fits on here like this, which is not bad. It could probably be a little bit bigger, stand to be a little bigger, because the edges of the soap sort of hang off the edge of the dish. So maybe if the dish were about, I don't know, 10%, 15% larger, it might hold the soap better. We're also worried a little bit of sort of with the soap getting wet and the goop running down that the soap might stick to the dish, in which case when you pick up the soap dish, or when you pick up the soap, you end up getting the dish too. That's kind of a bad thing, because really this isn't very heavy. This is really light stuff. Maybe in redesigning the stand in iteration 2 and making it larger, we also find a way to better secure the dish to the stand in some way, shape, or form. Might be little teeth or little like jeweler's hooks that go underneath there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. 12 hours later, well, 12 hours and 20 minutes later. 20 minutes to design the 3D model itself in Oculus Medium. 6 hours to print out the dish, 6 hours to print out the stand, put it all together, 12.5 hours, and we have ourselves a working prototype, iteration 1 for something that you can use in the house. And so yeah, 12 hours is a little longer than I'd hoped, to tell you the truth. 20 minutes is pretty good. I was happy with the modeling time, but the 3D printing time is going to be kind of slow. Anyway, that's it. Experiment wrapped up. We'll run it for we'll use it for a couple of weeks and see if we need to go back on iteration 2. Anyway, thanks for watching, and don't know what we're going to do next time.